Now, I got to come to Christmas. Talk about Christmas. So I told you, Dixie gave me this present. She's been threatening. Does anyone have any idea what Dixie got me? Now, Dixie, did you not tell me that when I asked you where you got this, you said you're re-gifting it? Is that true? All right. So she says, go ahead, you can open it up this morning. We did not plan this ahead of time. So in this, she gives me a lump of coal. And she's been threatening me. But I think it's very cute. Someone painted a snowman on this lump of coal. I said, I love it. Now, the reason why Dixie is re-gifting it is because she gets so much coal from everyone else that she wants to pass on. So, I want to talk about gifts with you, okay? Dixie, I love this. I'm keeping this. Let's talk about Christmas. How am I going to work Christmas into this? I wore a tie with presents on it. Verse 26. When David reached Ziklag, he sent some of the plunder to the elders of Judah, who were his friends, saying, here is a gift for you from the plunder of the Lord's enemies. The Amalekites that he wiped out, they would have had, because they moved as a whole group, they would have had incredible treasures and plunder from years and years, 20 years. The gold necklaces, the earrings, the diamonds, all the plunder they've been gathering that David now has, okay? So he's sending gifts to all of his friends. By the way, I have here, okay, what does this story have to do with Christmas? Gift giving is the thing I think about. David is Santa Claus and Robin Hood wrapped into one. Who says there's not a Santa Claus? Look there's David. Here's a gift for you. Verse 27, David made a list and he checked it twice, okay? Look at the towns that David sends gifts to. As I said, he's Santa Claus. Verse 27, David sent to those who were in Bethel, Ramoth, Negev, and Jatir, to those in Aurora, Siphmoth, Eshtemoa, to Rakal, to those in the towns of the Jeremielites and the Kenites, to those in Hormah, Por Ashan, Athak, and Hebron, and to those in all the other places where he and his men had roamed. Wow! He has his list, and he's sending gifts to dozens and dozens. I was trying to look up all these towns on a map. It was like he was covering all the towns, giving gifts from all the plunder of these Amalekites he'd give to the elders of each town so that then they would share the bounty with the people that lived in all these towns. You with me? Now some say, listen to this. Some say David did this on purpose because he was preparing these people to receive him when he would become king someday. And in fact, the next chapter, King Saul dies. And then the hope is, because David shared these gifts, that the people of all these towns will be favorably disposed to, yes, we would like David to be our king because he's blessed us with gifts. You with me? Do you follow that? Okay. So how do we bring this into the New Testament? So believe it or not, this truth is taught in the New Testament. And it's taught by one of the most unique parables that Jesus ever gave us. And I got to go over this parable fast with you, but please follow along. Hopefully most of you are familiar with this parable. Jesus told his disciples there was a rich man. The rich man kind of symbolizes God, whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. And that's kind of symbolic of all of us, in that God gives us our breath, our life, everything, but we are very wasteful people. So he called them in and asked them, what is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be manager any longer. So that's speaking of that someday we're all going to stand before God and stand before judgment and give an account of how did we use God's gifts, talents for him. The manager said to himself, what shall I do now? My master's taken away my job. We're going to go home to heaven someday, and your work down here on earth is done. I'm not strong enough to dig. I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do so that when I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their houses. So he called in each one of his master's debtors. He asked the first, how much do you owe my master? 900 gallons of olive oil. He replied, the manager told him, take the bill, sit down quickly, make it 450. Divide it in half. I just saved you thousands and millions of dollars. Then he asked the second, how much do you owe? 1,000 bushels of wheat. So make the bill, make it 800. Well, you get the idea. He's canceling debts to all these people so that they'll welcome him. The master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. Now, here's the punchline, verse 9. This is the lesson now that Jesus wants us to know. I tell you, Jesus says, I want you to use worldly wealth. And I have versions there. In almost every other Bible version, it's not worldly wealth, it's unrighteous wealth. It's wealth. I know this is very technical, so please, technically, the whole world is under the control of Satan. And all money is unrighteous money. No matter what money we have, it's tinted. It's dyed with unrighteousness. So for instance, I got $5 here, but I have no idea where this $5 came from. It might have passed through a drug user's hands. It may have passed through the gambling place. It may have been stolen from over here. It may have been used to pay that's why eventually everything in this earth, including all the money, everything is gone, and God creates a new heavens and a new earth. Anyway, it's all unrighteous. It's money. David stole, he says, this is plunder from the enemy. So I want you to use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into what? Eternal dwellings. So Jesus is saying, use your money to win people to Jesus, so that someday when you get to heaven, in heaven we all have an eternal mansion. The people that you help lead to the Lord live in eternal dwellings. They have eternal mansions. When you show up, they're going to say, Joe, come on in. It was because of you sharing the gospel, you taking me out to dinner and sharing about Jesus, that I came to the Lord. You are welcomed in my home at any time. In essence, we're using worldly wealth to prepare people's hearts to receive the King. David sends the money out to soften their hearts to receive him as king. We are to use our finances to prepare people to receive the King, King Jesus. And then we get welcomed into their homes when we are in heaven, and they're so excited. So, application. Like, how do you You always, how do you apply a sermon? This is just one example that I thought of this week. David made a list. So you make a list. You make a list of the people that you know that don't know the Lord. So you write down your list. Just like David had all the towns he's going to send the plunder to. So let's say you're going to spend $100 on 10 people that you want to share Jesus with. So you write a list, you get a Christmas card. What's going to be different this year is, and you're going to put a track into it, a Christian track. And when you go out the door, there's a table there to the left. I've got all the Christmas tracts. There's thousands of them. So help yourself, grab those Christian tracts, use them. Put them in your Christmas cards, however you hand them out at the restaurants. Put them in the bathroom stalls, whatever you want to. But they're out there on that table, okay? So now you got your Christmas cards, you got your list of the 10 people you want to share the gospel with. You got a Christmas tract that shares the gospel. And now you're going to put a Chick-fil-A gift card in it. Or Starbucks, or Amazon. And in the Christmas card, you're going to go, you know what, I know you're my coworker. I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you. And I have a gift card here to Chick-fil-A for you and your family. And I also want to share with you why Christmas is so special to me. I hope you read this little pamphlet I've included. Well, I'll tell you right now, studies show that it is the gift card that's going to soften their heart to take the time to read that pamphlet. You eliminate that gift card, and they're going to open up that card that you sent them from you. There's nothing. The track goes into the garbage. But you did something special this time. You included a gift card that was a nice treat. I'm going to take the extra time to read about this little pamphlet you put in there. Hey, one example of many.